back to the second part of this video lecture. uh, that's the pancreas and its hormones, right? In the very first video lecture, we discussed about the pancreas. We discussed about that it's a heterocrine gland. It was both endocrine part as well as exocrine part, and we discussed the function of the endocrine part that's responsible for production of pancreatic juice, the important kinds of enzymes present in the pancreatic juice. Now in this video lecture, we'll be discussing about the different kinds of cells. That means the cells present in the islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. We came to know that there are four important kinds of cells, but the function of the fourth cell, that is C type of cell, that's not known yet. So we'll see the function of the three different kinds of cells. That means the beta cell, the alpha cells, and the delta cells. We'll see the function of these important kinds of cells. First, we'll see the function of the beta cell, right? The beta cells, that it is responsible for production of the important kind of a hormone that's known as insulin, right? Because as you might have heard the name of this important kind of hormone, insulin, right? The major function of this hormone is in the regulation of the carbohydrates, in the regulation of fats, and in the regulation of protein metabolism, in the regulation of carbohydrates, in the regulation of fats, and in the regulation of protein metabolism, right? We'll see how this secretion of insulin, which is responsible for this release of the insulin. We'll see that the release of the insulin hormone from the beta cells can be triggered by the growth hormone or by the glucagon, right? But the most important stimulator is the glucose. That means it can be the release of the insulin can be caused by the growth hormone, or it can be caused by the glucose, right? But the most important stimulator is the glucose, right? When the blood glucose level rises as it does after a carbohydrate rich meal, the insulin is being released to counter it. You got my point? So insulin also promotes the uptake and the metabolism of glucose by body cells. It also prevents release of the glucose by liver. You got my point? Insulin also helps the liver, it also helps the muscles and other tissues to absorb the glucose and store it as in the form of glycogen. You got my point? So this was the function of the beta cells. That means the function of the insulin which was produced from the beta cells. Now we'll see the alpha cells, the function of the alpha cells. We'll see the function of the alpha cells. The alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans produce an important kind of the hormone that's called as glucagon. It produces an important kind of hormone that's called as glucagon, right? So this glucagon, when the blood sugar level falls below the optimum level, the glucagon is released from the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans, right? The glucagon causes glycogen to be broken down. The process, what we called as glycogenolysis. You got my point? The when the blood glucose level in the circulatory pipelines falls below the normal, the glucagon is released, right? What glucagon, after release of glucagon, what glucagon does? The glucagon causes glycogen, which is stored glycogen, right? Causes the stored glycogen to be broken down into the glucose, and also stimulates glyconeogenesis. That's very important, that this glucagon, after its release from the alpha cells, it performs two important process. One is known as glycogenolysis. One is glycogenolysis. glycogenolysis, and another is glycogenolysis means breakdown of storage glycogen into the glucose, right? And another phenomena it does, that's known as, that's breakdown of sorry, that is that means this glucagon, it also stimulates the gluconeogenesis, it also stimulates the gluconeogenesis. So two important phenomena are performed by the this glucagon, which is released from the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans. That when the glucose level falls, the glucagon causes glycogen to be broken down. That means glycogenolysis into the glucose, and also stimulates glyconeogenesis. That means glyconeogenesis means the formation of glucose from the amino acids, and that means from non-carbohydrate sources. So these are the important kinds of the phenomena which was performed by the glucagon after when there is low glucose level in the blood, and when the glycogenolysis happens, when the glyconeogenesis happens, then what ultimately is the function of the glucagon? It is responsible for restoring the blood sugar level. You got my point? So now this we'll see, we have seen the function of the beta cells. We'll see, have seen the function of the alpha cells, right? And similarly the function of the delta cells, that means this delta cell, it produces a strong inhibitor of the growth hormone, and it produces the strong inhibitor of the insulin and the glucagon. That means it suppresses the function of the beta cells, it suppresses the function of the alpha cells. That means it regulates the function of the alpha cells, and it regulates the function of the beta cells. And this was the function of the delta cell. Now, in the third part of the video lecture, we'll discuss the important pancreatic disorders and important foods which are which we should add to our diet in order to keep our pancreas healthy. Thank you.